You've probably noticed that home prices in California are really high right now. You've probably also noticed that rents are really high in California. And you might have asked yourself, should I even try to buy in California in this housing market? That's a question my wife and I have been asking each other for the past few years as well. So we keep coming to the same conclusion. Today, I want to walk through 3 different ways of looking at that question so that you can make the right decision for yourself. Towards the end, I'll walk you through the decision that my wife and I made, how we made it, and how we got a great deal on the property that we're in right now. Let's dive in. You've probably heard maybe 1,000 times that real estate is a great investment, and it is usually. I believe wholeheartedly in property ownership, both from a home ownership standpoint and a property investment standpoint. This video will kind of sound the exact opposite, but I do want to start off by saying there are reasons why you've heard from every individual in the real estate and the housing industry for forever that owning property makes a lot of sense from a financial standpoint and a legacy building standpoint. But right now, it might not make that much sense. So I wanted to go through a couple graphs. So when people say that housing is a great investment, always that is objectively false. So one example is if you had the misfortune of buying at the absolute top of the market in early 2006, and then the further misfortune of selling at the very bottom in early 2012, you lost 41%. If you only have a 3% loan or a 3% down payment on your loan or just a little bit of equity, that's all gone. You had to sell at a loss and you're upside down pretty quickly. If you have a lot of equity, that's even worse because hundreds of thousands of dollars got wiped out if you were in this situation of having to buy at the top of the market and then sell at the bottom of the market. What if you took a wider lens? Let's take a look again. Here's what that graph looks like starting in that same period, but looking till now. If you bought at the absolute top of the market, you weathered the bottom, didn't sell, and you've kept your property until now, you've appreciated about 50%. This is why people say that real estate is always a great investment, because if you look at it with a long enough lens, property appreciates. Most housing markets appreciate pretty steadily over time. And even us in California and the rest of the United States, we went through a pretty terrible housing crash 15, 20 years ago. But if you didn't sell at the bottom, you're still at 50% after a housing crash. Granted, we probably have another one coming here pretty soon. So this is viewpoint number one. Depending on the lens that you're looking at and the time period that you're looking at buying, either as a homeowner or an investor, if you are looking to live in a home or to own a home for a period of 3 to 5 years, now might be a terrible time. I'm on record to say that the housing market in California is likely to decline about 30% by the time we hit 2030. And then after that, it'll rebound again. So if you have a longer window, if you're looking for a forever home, you can almost not go wrong with buying property in California because you might be at a peak here and then it bottoms out and then property values will come back over the next 20 to 30 years. You don't have to buy now. We will hit another inevitable bottom, and that's probably a better time to buy. So the first view on whether or not you should be buying a property in California right now is the time period that you were looking to own that property. If you're looking at a 3 to 5 year duration, I would say pretty objectively, no, now is not a good time to buy it. If you're looking long-term, if you're looking for a forever home, you found a property that you love and you're going to be there 20, 30, 50 years, property values will go up. Even if we have a crash that comes over the next 3, 5, 7 years, property values beyond that will rise again and you should be okay. So that is framework number one, the window in which you were looking to own your property. There's something else you've probably heard 1,000 times, that renting is wasting money. It's just setting it on fire or throwing it away. I'd say that's true and it's not true. It's true in the fact that you are not building equity, you're not building any long-term wealth, you cannot ride equity waves or build any type of appreciation. But on the flip side, it might be your only option and it might be the most financially wise option. So renting isn't wasting money if it improves your financial position. We're going to get into a few specific examples here shortly on how it could improve your financial situation and why it might make more sense in the short term. The flip side of this is that buying is not a wise investment if it puts you in financial hardship. If you can only afford 3% down right now, there is a very strong chance that you will be underwater and negative in a year or two, maybe even less than that. Is that really what's best for you and your financial situation? If you can barely make your mortgage payment, if everything goes well, buying is probably not the best option for you at this point. Now, once we get to the bottom of the curve and we're in more of a valley and we're likely to experience near term appreciation, then it makes a lot more sense, even if you're stretching yourself pretty thin financially. As of right now, considering the macro look on the California and US housing situation, it's probably not wise. Now, let's dig into some specific examples. So I pulled up 5 different neighborhoods so we could compare one house for rent versus one house for sale to see what the monthly out-of-pocket expenses would look like in comparing the two. The first neighborhood we're going to look at is in Pleasant Hill, California. This 2-bed, 1.5 bath, 1,100 square foot home is available for $3,750 a month in rent. Let's see what that looks like in comparison to the one home that's in sale in the area. This one is listed below most of the others for $850. Now, if we were to take a look at Zillow's estimated monthly payment, if you put 20% down, you're looking at a little bit over $5,000 a month in a monthly. So if I'm a renter, I'm looking at this and saying, I don't know if I want to even try to afford that monthly payment when I've got a rental right down the street. If I am an investor, I'm doing the same exact thing. If I am looking at purchasing one of these homes and I'm putting 20% down, maybe I'm putting 30% down. But if I am going to be incurring a $5,000 monthly mortgage payment and only able to collect $3,750 in rent, I'm cash flow negative. Maybe that works for my portfolio in my specific situation. But most of the investors that I know are looking for cash flow positive situations. So here's a neighborhood in Pleasant Hill that wouldn't work for me. Let's take a look at a few others. We're staying in Northern California with Sacramento. We have this rental here for $2,800 a month. 2-bed, 1 bath, 1,150 square feet. Is this a good deal? Let's take a look at what is for sale in the area. We've got a couple options here. This one's a little bit of a bigger property. So let's look at, how about this one? This is a similar property. 2-bed, 1 bath, 950 square feet. So it's a little smaller and it's $4,100 a month, which means it's $1,300 a month more expensive for me to purchase in the area than to rent. Again, if I'm looking in this neighborhood in Sacramento, either as a potential homeowner or an investor, my mortgage payment would be more than the rent I'm either going to pay or able to collect as an investor. It wouldn't make any sense for me to buy in this area. Let's take a look at this community in Orange. Orange, especially if you get close to the Orange Circle and Chapman University, rents are phenomenal. $5,500 a month. This is a pretty big home, 4-bed, 2-bath, 2,300 square feet. But yeah, rentals are bananas out here. Let's take a look at what is available for sale. Similar size property for $1.25 million, 4-bed, 2-bath. The monthly on this, we're estimating $7,300. So you could rent a bigger property for $1,800 less per month. Same thing, you do the math. It doesn't make much sense in this community in Orange to purchase when you could rent a bigger property for less money. We're going to stay in Southern California and go to Corona. This is the fun one. If you look at this house, 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,604 square feet. Let's compare that to a home that is for sale. 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,604 square feet. It's the exact same property layout, cookie cutter community. Absolutely. So we could rent a home in this community for $3,900 a month, or we could buy it for $5,985 a month. So it's going to cost us $2,000 more to buy a property in this community than to rent a property in this community. It makes more sense to rent in Corona. Let's stay down here in Southern California and look at something in San Diego. The rents in this area of San Diego are also crazy bananas. But it is what it is. So we have this beautiful home, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet for $6,150 a month. Let's take a look at what's available for sale in this community. We got this one over here, 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,100 square feet. So it is bigger. But this property is $2.1 million. Your monthly estimated payment, if you're putting 20% down, is $12,450, which means it costs you an extra $6,300 a month to buy this property and then to rent one a few doors down. As a potential home buyer, I am looking at neighborhoods that I want to live in, and I'm doing this monthly math. Yes, all things else that being equal, I want to own a home. I want to start paying into equity. Yes, I'll be throwing money away with interest, with property taxes, with home insurance, but a portion of it every once when you go into build equity. But it is hard to justify paying twice as much or an extra $6,300 for the joy of owning a home and having to maintain it when you can go a few doors down and rent instead. So this is the second framework that everyone's got to take a look at. If you're looking to purchase a home for yourself, if it's part of your portfolio, if you are a real estate investor, maybe looking to buy your first rental, you have to look at this. This is framework number two to make sense of whether or not buying in California would work for you or make any financial sense at this point. So the goal on this is figuring out what puts you in the strongest financial position, what makes the most sense. So I want to take a look at how long you plan on owning the home as to whether or not it would make any sense to purchase in California right now. And then looking at the neighborhood, if you are going to pay a lot more money to own a home than to rent a home, maybe the math changes your perspective. And maybe you're willing to rent for another year to 5 years until it makes more sense and the market is stabilized more to then pull the trigger and make a purchase. So from the last part, I wanted to go through my specific example, like my wife and I made the decision that we did to rent again. This is our home, blacked out. These are the specific numbers on the thumbnail for this video. The home that we're living in right now is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1,583 square foot home in beautiful Huntington Beach, California. Currently is estimated at $1.223 million. What they put on here for the estimated payment would be $73.60. The estimated rent, as you see down here, is at $52.84. So just looking at this one, if you eyeing this as a potential investment property, your out of pocket is about $2,000 more than what it's estimating you can get in return. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. There are so many online listings out there and so many online tools that becomes a shortcut and a very easy way to find properties that are available. What my wife and I have done a few times is a much more old school approach where we talk to people. We are very big believers in building community, especially around where we live. So we happen to know the neighbor who lives directly next to us. She's a wonderful lady named Judy. We talked to her maybe a year and a half ago and said, hey, we are looking for a home. If you happen to know anything that's available off the market, please let us know. For rent, for sale, we're just interested. She let me know the property right next door to her that we're living in now had been vacant for, she said, like 3 to 5 years. But she had the owner's phone number. So we called the owner and he said, you know what? I have let that property sit vacant. I have had a terrible time with tenants. And so I just rather not even rent it out. So we walked through the property. I think he looked at this and he was looking for a little bit over $5,000 for the monthly rent. And I just said, hey, here are the things that I'd be willing to do on the property. So swapping out the lights, swapping out the can lights, redoing the ceiling fans. I replaced a few doors, a few windows. I just do a lot of little odd projects around the house. I have to do a sink and a faucet here pretty soon because we have some plumbing adventures. Some of this he pays for, some of this I pay for. But we just talked about it that, hey, I will treat this like my own property. That we've had a bad experience with tenants in the past. We are going to be a wildly different experience for you. So we've redone the front yard, we've redone the backyard, we're replanting, and just doing a lot of work on a home that we don't own personally, but we're paying $3,300 a month, which is phenomenal. So I highly encourage you to go offline, to have real conversations with real people. You will find surprising deals out there as soon as you go from an online conversation to a human to human conversation. As soon as this property owner got to meet myself, my wife, my 3 beautiful little kids, he trusted us. The fact that I'm a contractor and I'm pretty handy, he liked that. He's come by a few times just to check on the property. Again, he's had really bad experiences, and especially being a property owner or a rental property owner in California, there's a lot of bad experiences that a lot of property owners have had with tenants that don't maintain the property, that don't let the owners into the property, and then just choose not to pay. California's rental laws are Uh, Wild. So if you're still looking to buy or rent and trying to make the right decision for yourself, your family, your business, your portfolio, I highly recommend utilize your online resources because they are wonderful. They give you a very good market perspective. But I also would highly encourage you to take your search offline. Go through your phone book, talk to people that you know, walk a neighborhood where you want to live, and just see what's out there. You'd be surprised to find what just like shaking a hand and saying hello to somebody, what kind of doors that can open up. People like people, especially in this day and age. There is, I think, a real need for community and for relationship, something that I would like to build here. And again, I appreciate you watching. I would love to hear your thoughts and engagement. If you have questions on anything, please ask in the comments below. I hope you found value in this. I hope this helps you know whether or not you should be buying or renting in California today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.